Okay, so social emotional learning is not just for children or students. It's important for everybody. So it's like an emotional health model for everybody. It gives you the opportunity to understand yourself and manage the direction you need to go, which is what everybody needs. I remember when I first started teaching, there was this choose model, like it was dealing with disciplinary issues, and you were choosing to make the wrong decision, or you were making a choice. And I remember it walked the students through. So everybody's continually been trying to help students understand their emotional health and help them understand who they are and manage themselves so that they can navigate that in a different way. And even as adults, we need that. And in doing that, we understand our motivation. We understand where we need to go, the direction, the goals that we have. That could also be applied to some group projects. If you're having students work with in group projects, they have to understand themselves to be able to navigate that entire project with a group of people. If they're working on it by themselves, they have to understand themselves as well. And also, empathy is super important to understand. We move through the earth as if we're individuals sometimes, and like put our understanding of that situation on other people, whereas we need to have empathy for whatever they're going through. It's not our experience. It might be an experience that we went through. If it is, then it is empathy, because we can empathize with them. We understand what they've gone through because we've done it. But we also have to understand it through their perspective as well. So that's one of the social emotional things, is understanding and being aware of society and the things that impede on their lives, that we may not be directly related to. It's also about making positive connections. I talked about that in the introduction, that it's important to have connections. It's important to be a part of other people's lives and get to know other people, new things, diverse situations, to not just limit ourselves to our own little closed in corner of the world. And based on all of these things, it helps us make better decisions. We develop those skills. When we were little, we used to just walk down the road a mile and play at the neighbor kids' house. And no one was there to help us make decisions on rules or fix our fights. No one was. I don't even remember adults being around ever. We had to make those decisions on our own. We had, whose ball it was going to be, and that happened, and was that a foul, or do we bring it back? We determined the fairness of the game and how the game was going to move on. We also moved through having 6 kids play together as a child, deciding what we were going to do next. And so it's important in understanding others, understanding ourselves, understanding the culture around us, to help us make decisions and hopefully make important decisions that are in the right direction. So when we're in the classroom, we can model this. So that's the one thing that you can do, is model through your experiences and through whatever's going on at that time. The one thing that I can think of is when I was, going through something pretty tough, and it upset me, and I got in the car, and my son was in there as well. And I thought, I got to be the adult here and suck it up and not cry, or not let him know I have these emotions, or I can't let him know that I'm feeling what I'm feeling. And something in me just made me just straight up be real. And I cried and told him what I was going through and how it was awful and how it was terrible. And he had a more of an understanding of what I was going through, instead of me kind of closing in and not kind of opening that up. Of course, there's boundaries there. I get that. But it was something that was important for him to understand, that it was a difficult situation for me to be in at that moment. It wasn't going to influence him or change his mind on anything in the world other than what we were going through at that time. And sometimes it's important to just look at people and like, you know what, that really does stink. That's an awful thing. And that is sad. That really is a sad situation. I'm going to let you sit with that. It almost sounds a little bit out there. The mindfulness always seems like it's an out there kind of concept. But it makes sense, because when you say, that's real, I know you're really sad about that. Don't say, get over it, just forget that emotion. No, sit with it. What does that mean to you? And that's why reflection and journaling and peer assessment is really important in understanding your emotions and other people's emotions as well, because we all have different perspectives of what's going on. And if if we want people to understand that perspective, we need to announce that perspective, be transparent about that. So if we're learning and understanding those things, so if students see me modeling as a teacher, let's say as a teacher rather than the mother perspective that I just gave you that story, if our students see us modeling that and being like, oh man, I really wanted the football game to happen today too, I'm really upset about that, but that's just something we can't do right now because the football field's not ready, the other team canceled, whatever weird situation is happening, you want to at least acknowledge that that is a true emotion that they're having and that you model that as well. And then what they'll do is they'll take that true learning experience of being like, oh, that was really real, that was cool what the teacher had done, and saying, I feel that way too. I acknowledge that you feel that way. Then after you acknowledge that they feel that way, they can take that learning out into the real world where they're just like, oh man, see someone else upset about something. That's real to them. So that learning can be taken out there with them. And socially emotional learning has been researched and founded as helping students increase academically. If we understand ourselves, then we know that we can move through things. And it shouldn't just be on the teacher to understand. It is important that the teacher get to know their students enough that they're just like, I know what's going to help the student move through this project, move through this task or this barrier and learn more. I mean, that is important for us too. We've always been assessing students to see where we can move them. That's differentiation. We can move them that way. But also it's important that the students know themselves so that they can move themselves forward academically. Students become more positive. They are more excited about the way that they can engage in activities, classroom activities. They feel more connected to those activities. So it's more engaging, it's more positive for them. It's a better experience for them. And then of course it's less behavioral issues. If we do through some of the emotional management things, like even me, this time right now, these times in 2020 are a little bit difficult. And so sometimes we just have to stop and take a breath, be mindful, take a step back, and know what to do for ourselves to keep emotionally happy, or so, we're not going to go in the correct direction. So if we learn to back up and take a breath and model that for our students understand to stop and take a breath, then you're going to have less problems in the classroom. And you can see that model over there. I'm going to talk about each of these aspects of social emotional learning through this wheel. And it is supposed to be learned in the classroom and emulated throughout the school district and modeled throughout. And then the students will take it out into the homes and community. And it'll just kind of be this wonderful circle of learning and experience and traveling out into the real world and make people have better experiences.